up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Car Chat. Today on my drive to work, I would like to spend some time talking with you about the power of your words and kind of how those affect not only just your mindset, but also kind of your effort that you put towards life, and also ultimately your outcomes that you have. Kind of this has been described a little bit in the law of attraction. Basically, the energy that you put out into the world and the approach that you take towards kind of viewing your life situation is shapes, and it also is shaped by the words and the language that you use to describe it. And so I think a lot of this, it kind of proliferates in training, and again, this is just the context that I work with people on. And one of the things that I've noticed is that people who habitually speak negatively about something typically always manifest their own result or their own fear. For example, I suck at bench press, right? If you always speak about anything related to this thing that you have difficulty with in a negative tone, you're probably always going to be shitty at it. And that's because the words that you use to describe things come from beliefs that you hold, but they also help to create and reinforce those beliefs. And I think people only look at one half of this relationship and they say, well, yeah, of course negative people are going to speak negatively, but they maybe don't take into consideration that speaking negatively can make your situation negative. They don't look at it from the perspective of taking ownership and responsibility for the language that they use to describe things. And I feel like if you do that, you miss out on a lot of opportunities to better your situation simply by how you talk about it and how you describe it and how you let your words create these mindsets and attitudes towards these things. And this is kind of the first step that I think, at least, is the most important in really starting to take ownership of your situation in life, whatever that may be, whether it's training, whether it's job, whether it's relationship. It's taking ownership for the amount of responsibility that you have towards shaping what those outcomes are. And that begins with the words that you use to describe it. And kind of just a really dumb example, and I don't know if there's any actual science behind this, I really don't care, but I don't get sick. And I say it anytime there's a bug coming around and everybody's getting taken out, and I sure hope I don't come down with it. I'm like, it's no big deal, I don't get sick. And I, for the most part, don't. I've taken, I think, 2 days off for being sick in the last 7 to 10 years. And at that point, it's asthma attack and things like that. But for the most part, I go at it with that attitude. I don't get sick. If there's something going around or I feel like I'm starting to come down with it, I'm fighting something off. But I don't ever describe that situation in words of, I'm going to succumb to the sickness that's going to negatively affect my life. And that same kind of approach I use towards, or I try to use towards, things that I struggle at or things that are difficult for me. In training, my bench press is the lift that I have to work the hardest on. History would say it's not my best lift, but if I continually come at it with a negative attitude and, I suck at bench, or I hate training my bench, or I hate this particular exercise, only because it highlights a weakness on something that I need to work on, then I'm always going to manifest that same negative outcome that I've already come to believe that will already happen. And so you can kind of take this same perspective and really apply it towards anything, and instead of looking at it as more of an observation, start to use it as an actionable step that you can take to start improving your life. Start describing your situations with better words, and don't give life to those negative descriptions, those negative mindsets, those negative attitudes by using the words associated with them. Speak positively about things. If there's something that you struggle with, say that you're struggling with it, but accept the fact that you've identified a weakness, which is a very powerful position to be in. If you know that there's something that you're struggling with and you've identified what you need to do to work on it, then there is no better place to be in life than in a position of having identified that weakness and started to do the work. Where people speak negatively, it almost acts as kind of like an excuse to not put in the work that you need to do to correct that weakness or to fix that situation. People that continually bitch about hating their jobs are the ones that never do anything to change their job. the people that can complain about their relationships are the ones who aren't putting any effort in to fix the relationships, or to set boundaries for themselves, or to whatever, to make themselves a priority and fix that circumstance. And it's kind of a crutch, and it's an excuse to not take action. Now, I'm not saying that everything in life is happy, and I understand that people, struggle with depression and, have life circumstances that suck. I've been through my fair share of that, and not to minimize any of those things for anyone, but even in the worst possible circumstances, there are things that you can do to make it better. At the very least, there are ways that you can, look for that positive portion of what's going on in your life. And, at the very least, maybe it's just a sign for you to shift the focus away from yourself. A lot of times that, I've fallen into depression or been stressed are times when I'm focusing completely on myself and my own circumstances. And one of the quickest ways to kind of get rid of that attitude is to start focusing on what you can do for someone else. And if you live your life with that kind of a perspective where, maybe things aren't that great for you, but you look at your opportunities and your situation that you have, and you look for the places where you can maybe make something better in someone else's life, then shit gets a whole lot happier for you and a lot less stressful. And you'll notice that as you start to embrace those kinds of attitudes and outlooks, that your own situation starts to improve on its own. And so this is kind of it's gone a lot of directions, but the takeaway from it is that I want you to pay attention to the words that you use to describe your life and your situation and the things that you're struggling with, and start to use better ones, and kind of embrace the power that you have to create your own thoughts and your own attitudes and emotions through language, and really take ownership of that and allow it to just give you a little bit bigger picture perspective of what's going on than the things that you're currently struggling with. Hopefully that's something that's been helpful for you, and I will talk to you later.